What is good, everybody, man? Welcome into the Blue Bloods Coach's Corner edition. Myself, my guy, Coach Fred, as we recap all the action across the FCS HBCU football after a wild week 5, man. Coach, chaos this weekend. 8 top 25 teams lose. 6 lose to unranked teams, including 3 top 10 upsets to unranked teams. It was chaos this weekend, but Coach, man, how you feeling?
Feeling great, baby. Feeling great. But that's the sport that we love.
Mm.
Every Saturday, supposedly everybody has an opportunity.
I love it, but listen, I don't love our prediction record right now. I got to go back and calculate it, but not looking great for either of us. Not looking great for anybody last week. I mean, I would be very shocked if anyone predicted some of the chaos that we saw last week. But man, Coach, real quick, a huge win for you guys this weekend. Overtime win over Alabama State. Listen, it's tough in college football to go win on the road regardless, man. But you guys go out there. Your guy Aaron Allen has a all SWAC performing, 300 plus passing yards. And I know you as the wide receiver coach love to see those wide receivers get those opportunities, man. How you feeling after the big win?
Man, feeling good. Like you said, anytime you get a chance to win a game, it's a good thing. Whether it's overtime, whether you win by 0.5, you still get a win. Still feels better after the game on that long bus ride home with the win than it did, would have been with the loss. But Aaron played like Al Bundy, man, at Poke High. He was in control, baby, in control.
Man, I was pumped for you guys. I was watching, Coach. I could always see you on the broadcast, or at least I could this weekend, because you were the coach that was like furthest toward, like wherever the offense was, you were like all the way down the sideline. You were like the main coach that's all the way down the sideline in overtime.
I'm trying to see the back, but then when it got to overtime, I need to make sure that I help the officials see everything. Make sure they had another set of eyes to kind of help them. I may have been out of the box just a little bit, but, sometimes they can get all the help they need, and I'm willing to give it to them, that kind of thing.
You can't say it, but I can, especially in the SWAC. So I don't blame you for getting down the field on that one. But, Coach, man, let's kick it off here. Guys, we're just going to do, a lot of storylines, just kind of toss it around because there's so much to talk about, man, just instead of even game recaps. But, Coach, we got to take it up to the Fargo Dome. North Dakota State knocked off by South Dakota in a shot. I mean, Coach, South Dakota led the entire game. 24-19 win, was up 21-3 at halftime. And, Coach, I mean, really and truly, up until the end, it really wasn't close. And I think this is interesting, Coach. The South Dakota has now beaten a ranked team every single season since 2013 now. A huge streak. That's impressive. But what were your biggest takeaways from this monumental upset of the number 2 team in the country?
Man, it was at home.
Yep.
And they don't, usually lose up there. And, going through the numbers, catching highlights, trying to get ready for the show. NDS, they won in just about every category. 35 minutes of time of possession. I just don't understand, but, hats off to CB. He went crazy. 5 for 124, 2 touchdowns. Maybe that was the thing that put him over the top. And, they got out early enough. I think it goes back to I was referenced back to Nebraska football of old. If they get behind early, it's going to be tough for them to come back and win. And I think that's what played out here. Not that they were running the wishbone, but everybody knows what they like to do offensively. And now you put them in a different comfort zone. I think that's why SDU was able to hold on after, jumping out with such a big lead.
Yeah, like you mentioned, man, Carter Bell was a problem. 5 for 124, 2 touchdowns. But, Coach, this was my biggest takeaway. You're an offensive coach, so I know in your mind you want Alcorn to have the ball as many times as possible during the game. You want as many chances to get the yards to the points because that plays to y'all's strength. South Dakota and North Dakota State had 13 total drives this game. North Dakota State had the ball 6 times in the entire football game. South Dakota had the ball 7, including the final possession, which was just pretty much a kneel down effect. Man, I mean, you look at this. you're talking about putting an absolute importance on making those possessions count. I think that might have been the difference, Coach, because when you look at South Dakota, touchdown on all three first half possessions outside of the last one where the clock ran out on them. And you look at North Dakota State, they kind of struggled early. They got a field goal up there, but they just weren't able to find the end zone to the second half. When you shorten the game like this, it almost puts the pressure on your opponent. Like, hey, if we don't score, we don't know. We might only get 4 or 5 chances to put this thing in the end zone.
Yeah, it forces you to really, really be efficient. And, like you said, it takes the importance to being good with the football to another level. And it kind of goes to the old league that I used to play in arena football. If you can get 2 stops and your offense can score, you're guaranteed almost a win in the situation. And with the new timing rules, we talked about it from the beginning of our show, a month or so ago. It is playing big now, I think, in ball games as such, because like you said, after maybe 2-3 possessions, you may not get it another time in that half. It's just, you got to be efficient.
Yeah, I think that was the difference, Coach, because you look at that first drive for NDSU, they get down inside the 20 of South Dakota, come away with the field goal. Late in the third quarter, they get inside the 10-yard line of South Dakota, got to settle for a field goal. That ultimately was the difference in the game, is they just weren't able to convert on those deep red zone opportunities, because both those drives, Coach, they burned over 9 minutes of possession time. I mean, and it's almost like North Dakota State has that advantage where if they're up, they can burn the clock very quickly and put together those long drives. But if you don't convert and you get down, it almost starts working against you in the second half. And it's almost like they became their own worst enemy based on the type of offense that they were running.
Yeah, 35 minutes of time of possession. And like you said, when you're getting down there and you're not coming away with points, it starts to work against you. And I think that's kind of what happened in this situation. Because you go back and you look at the numbers, 348 to 269, 9 yards less in the passing game. I mean, they weren't efficient when they needed to be efficient, in my eyes, just because of, like you said, the way they run their offense. And now you got South Dakota, who hit a couple quick strikes, got out early, and was able to hold on.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I gotta say this. I want to get your opinion. When I don't know what the coaches poll, and I didn't have a chance to look at the coaches poll today, so I don't know where they rank North Dakota State. They dropped, I want to say 7 in the media poll. Where do you feel like it's a fair ranking for North Dakota State, and for you, being that it's week 5 going into week 6? Do you think that South Dakota deserved to jump above North Dakota State?
Oh man, I think NDS. I think they go outside the top 10. You're at home, you lose that. I don't think it's a deal of where you fall 2, 3, 4 spots. I think it's a deal of where you have to go to number 11. To me, I think you have to go to number 11. I don't know if you necessarily want to crown SDU, but I think you give them some love, some votes, but you can't put them in the top 25 if a couple weeks ago you didn't put Western Carolina in the top 25.
Ooh,
You can't do
ooh.
it. It doesn't make sense.
Agree with you there. We're on the same page. Listen, I got Western Carolina number 6 in my ballot. I'm riding. Listen, I'm riding the bandwagon for the Catamounts until the wheels fall off. Now, if it falls off this week, listen, a tough road game against Chattanooga this weekend, brutal game. Chattanooga's really good at home, and then you got that Furman game in 2 weeks. Listen, if the wheels fall off, listen, I'm riding it till we break down the side of the road, and then I'll find my next bandwagon to hop on. But Coach, I'll be honest. I had North Dakota State drop 7 spots. I had them at 9 on my ballot. I still give them. I still think they're a top 10 team based on the fact that the Central Arkansas and Eastern Washington wins are really good. Those are 2 really great wins, and I think the way I rank my teams as coach, I got a spreadsheet. Listen, I got a spreadsheet, strength of schedule, top 25 wins, top 10 wins. Listen, we got a lot of analytics going on. I'd still think they have a better resume than Delaware. Incarnate Word, North Carolina Central. So I gave them the slight edge, but I did jump South Dakota to 8. I'll be honest. I think they got the best win in college football right now.
I agree with you on some of that, but you can't lose that at home.
I'm with you on that.
You can't lose that at home. To me, outside of the top 20, outside of the top 10, would have been fair. 9, I just don't know.
Way better than some people having them at like 4. If you got them in the top 5 still, that's ridiculous.
Because they were at home. You can't do that. That to me is discrediting what South D did. If you're saying, oh, that was just a slip up, we're just gonna knock them down 2. If you knock them down 2, then you got to move SD right behind them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because it's so tough. I want to save the top 25 talk because we're going to get into some in-depth one in just a minute. But Coach, we'll kind of combine these segments here. Who, in your opinion, and we'll kind of go through the games as we talk about it, who had the worst loss this weekend out of the top 10 teams that dropped? North Dakota State, Holy Cross, or William and Mary? Which of the 3 were the worst loss in your opinion?
So, since we're already there, I had to flip back to the biggest winners, biggest losers. I have a tie for that, and William and Mary and Holy Cross. William and Mary, because to me, you were right there on the cusp of becoming, that household name. You're right there, and then you go out and you throw for 36 yards. That's just not in a game that you should have won. I think them and then Holy Cross, 5 turnovers, 200 yards on the ground. You give up 200 yards on the ground. 5 turnovers for a top-tier team is just not excusable. And I know as the guys with the college shirts, man, after they go back and look at that, I'm sure they are fighting mad because you just can't turn it over 5 times. And you're supposed to be a top-tier program who almost beat Boston College. You cannot have lapses like this if you're trying to become a championship caliber program. So those are my 2 biggest losers. And then hats off to JC, man, who went absolutely nuts in that game. 7 for 176 and 2 touchdowns. Did his thing.
Yeah, Jalen Coker's my guy. I mean, listen, I've had him on the show. Man, he has listen, shout out to his mom too, man. She is always on the channel, watching the show, supporting on social media. So shout out to her. Oh man, it's so tough. Okay, because I can spin it a few ways, Coach. I do agree it's probably between Elon and William and Mary. I mean, or William and Mary and Holy Cross, just because of this. Man, that William and Mary offense is bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad. I mean, listen, I know, I get it. Like, listen, you're an offensive guy. I played O-line. We're 2 kind of offensive-minded guys. But if you're the defensive guys in the collar shirts, you can't ask for anything more than holding a team to 14 points. Like, if we hold a team under 20 and we don't win, you're looking across the locker room like, hey, bro, could y'all have given us anything more than what we got today?
And I'm living that real life, because, those kids on the other side, and it's a team game, no doubt about it. But as the guys in the collar shirt, and you watch those guys pitch 3 outs, 3 and outs after 3 and outs after 3 and outs, and then you go out there and you go 3 and out after 3 and out after 3 and out. It's kind of tough to look at those guys and be like, hey, man, give us one more opportunity. Then they give it to you, and then, hey, man, give us one more stop, that kind of thing. So it becomes tough, but, it's a team game, but you've got to get better than 36 yards of passing. You've got to get better than that.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at William and Mary, and it's just like, I'm going to give the slight edge to William and Mary because of the offense. Like, I get that Yoder was out at running back, but you still ran for 300 yards. How do you run for 300 yards and put up 6 points? Now, you did get stopped at the 1-yard line early in the first quarter, turnover on downs early, and then you put together another big drive, ends in a field goal. And then you put another big drive with good field position, ends in a field goal. And it's just like, then you get to the Elon 13 and you fumble it. And then you throw an interception the next drive. And then you turn over on downs inside the Elon 11. It was like you had ample opportunities to win this game time and time again, and your defense is out here balling against a top rushing attack in Elon, holds them to 115 on the ground, and their quarterback has an efficient day throwing for just under 200 yards. But I don't know. Listen, Nate Lynn, John Pius are the two of the most elite edge rushers out there, and they have Ryan Poolball and Alex Washington, Isaiah Jones. It was just William & Mary looked so stagnant through the air. Darius Wilson, coach, coming into the year was one of the top 5 graded quarterbacks according to Pro Football Focus. When your starting running back is out, when you're running for 300 yards, I need more from my starting guy than 5 for 14 for 36 yards.
That's where you're supposed to take over. That's where you get your shine on, and that's where you make the guys in the college shirt starts to rethink the focus of the offense. Instead, I think now they've got to come up with a totally different plan, because if he can't come back, you're going to be faced with the same thing, because the next opponent you play would be crazy not to implement something from that blueprint from Elon defensively, which held you guys to 36 yards. I mean, that's just not going to cut it if you're not going to be able to keep the score going. That's just not going to cut it.
And you look at William & Mary, coach, now too, with their resume. This is why William & Mary had the steepest drop of any of these 3 teams that lost out of the top 10. They dropped to 20 for me, just because when you look at their resume, it really has aged poorly. Now, Campbell, I still think is a good team. They've played a brutal schedule, but now Campbell's a 3-loss team after losing to Central this past weekend. So that's not a top loss anymore. You struggle against Charleston Southern. 15-7 isn't expiring. And then your other 2 wins are Wofford and Maine. So really the one true test you had against Elon, you failed. And it's this thing, coach, when you look at the Charleston Southern game, you look at Maine, you look at Wofford Campbell, the defense was great. The defense has been elite. The offense is putting up stupid numbers. They're driving the football, making good plays. And then it's like as soon as they get in position to do something, it's a turnover, or they just forget how to score in the red zone and score in that red area. And it's eventually, when you play good teams,
catches up.
It's going to cost you. And it cost them this weekend, coach, because when I look at that Elon game, they had too many chances to win. Now you look, they play Virginia. Power 5 team, not a great Power 5 team, but you can't make those mistakes against them. Townsend just knocked off New Hampshire this past weekend. Monmouth has been competitive in some of their top games. And then, coach, to end the season, you got to go at UAlbany and against Richmond. That at Albany game is not a guaranteed win like a lot of people thought to start the year. We'll get to them in just a little bit. But, coach, shifting to Holy Cross, the reason I didn't give it to them is, I know people hate saying this. And I know some people are going to be mad I said this. I still come away from that game saying Holy Cross was the better team on the field.
And I can see how you could say that. But then also the turnovers are a part of the game.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm not making an excuse. I'm just saying.
No, I'm saying it's part
yeah.
being the better team on the field. Turnovers are still part of the game, and they gave up 200 yards on the ground.
Yep.
But I see. I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm with you. I will.
I get it.
I will say this, coach. This was the worst defensive performance I've seen from Holy Cross since they played Montana's. Not Montana's. Who do they play in the playoffs? South Dakota State. They've really struggled against the run. But, coach, when I look at this too, this is crazy because Harvard is the first team in a long time to beat Holy Cross in the regular season. 19 consecutive wins for the Crusaders in the regular season. That
heck of a run.
That heck of a run. But when I look at this, it was like Sluka to me, man, I know he threw for 325, 4 touchdowns. The 3 interceptions he threw were just bad plays. And that's plays that he doesn't make on a normal Saturday. It was just like, man, if you take away just one of those, it's a completely different game. It's like you look at Sluka now, it's like, was this your wake-up call? Because me and you have been praising him on this show. That kid was on the fast track to the Walter Payton, and he still might be. Listen, he still might be, because, listen, one game doesn't define a resume, but it was just the players that don't usually make mistakes for Holy Cross continuously made the mistakes on Saturday, and it was such a weird game. But you do have to give credit. Listen, Charles DePrimo played well. I love the Cooper kid at tight end that had 5 for 73 in the touchdown. He was balling out. Matt Hudson, Thor Griffith played really well. It was just, to me, Holy Cross played their worst game in probably 2 seasons, man. It really shocked me, but you do got to give Harvard props, coach, because you know this. On Saturday, if a team opens the door for you,
I walk through it.
you got to storm through it, and they did, man, because they made every mistake that Holy Cross made. Harvard made them pay, and that's something that not a lot of teams could take advantage of. So you do have to give Harvard a lot of credit.
But that's how you win these games. Harvard turned those mistakes into golden opportunities for themselves and cashed in on them. And that's how, as an underdog, that's how you win these games.
Yeah. I'll say this, coach. Go ahead.
I said, no, you come away with 7, not 3.
Yep. And that's what they did, coach. 3 interceptions by Saluka turned into 17 points for Harvard, including the pick 6.
That's points you don't factor in. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You don't factor in.
Yeah, man. And shout out to Harvard, man. That was a huge win. Made a big jump in my rankings. After that one, coach, shifting to the CAA quickly before we get into some top 25 talk. Man, it's chaos. William and Mary gets knocked off. Townsend catches New Hampshire. UAlbany catches Villanova. I mean, you still got Delaware, who was on a bye week, who's rolling. Rhode Island looked better this week. Coach, what do you make of the CAA? And right now, just in your opinion, based on the film we have, who is the best? Who is your favorite or the best team in the CAA right now?
Hold on to your seats. I went back and forth with this when we talked about the subject. Hold on to your seat. And I'm going to explain why. I'm going with Elon.
Ooh.
It was between them and Delaware, but I'm going with Elon because Elon, this past week, I think they could have easily went in there and folded or whatever, but they stood up and they played timely defense. William and Mary was supposed to be the cream of the crop, and they went in and they took them out and they suffocated them. You know, it wasn't like it was a shootout. They imposed their will. True, William and Mary had some self-inflicted stuff, but Elon, again, capitalized just enough to win the game. The other thing that they did, they had timely special teams where they were able to keep the field position in their favor. So Delaware didn't give me anything this week because they were mine. But then when I went back, I'm like, you got to give it to Elon. They just did it on the field this week.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm not going to complain about that. I think there were 3 obvious choices to me, Elon and Delaware being 2 of those 3. Because, I mean, look, Coach, Elon 0-2 start. That loss to Gardner-Webb really kind of kicked me off the bandwagon, and they just rolled back. A&T blowout win. Beat a Campbell team that's been really promising at the time now. I don't know how that's aged. And then they beat William and Mary. They found a lot of momentum that if they can keep it rolling, they're going to have a real chance. The tricky thing predicting the CAA is that not everyone plays each other.
Yes.
That's the hard thing, and there's not divisions or anything like that. Coach, I'm going to go. I'm with you. It was between Delaware and UAlbany for me.
Okay.
I think I might be the only person that is as high as I am on UAlbany right now, and I'm okay standing on the island by myself right now. I'm okay with that because me and you were probably one of few standing on that island with Western Carolina earlier this season. So I'm cool with standing by myself right now. UAlbany right now, Coach, 3-0 against FCS competition. A big win over a top 20 Villanova team who just a week ago demolished Rhode Island in a top 25 matchup. And then when I look at the makeup of the team, they got 2 close losses to FBS schools. I mean, they easily could have won that first one, and then Hawaii kind of got away from them late. But when I look at the makeup of a team that can win this conference, I need edge rushers. I need a quarterback, because I think the quarterback plays the biggest question mark when you look across the conference. I'm going to say this. I hope he doesn't make me look like a fool when I'm clipped 2 weeks from now. There's an argument to be made right now, Coach, that Reese Poffenbarger is the best quarterback in the conference.
Okay. Let's write that down somewhere and see if we can
Yeah,
come back.
yeah. I'll say this: there's an argument. Now, listen, Hajj Malik Campbell, a baller. Not taking anything away from him, but it does matter some where Reese has shown the ability to win some of the bigger games this year, while Hajj in the biggest moments puts up good stats, but he can't do enough to get us
the play.
Yeah, because let's be honest, the only position in college football or football in general that counts wins and losses is the quarterback. That's a quarterback stat. So Poffenbarger right now undefeated against FCS top 25 win, and then coach pass rushers. We've talked about this. Anton Junkai leading the nation. I want to say he has 9 sacks right now for the year, man. I mean, he is just putting up ridiculous stats. Ori John Charles, AJ Simon, they got talent all over the place. I just feel like this team, coach, is built to compete. And if it comes in the biggest moments, it really comes down to quarterback play. I got a feeling Poffenbarger can go toe to toe with anybody else in the conference right now.
I like it. Like I say, I'm not doubting it, but I mean,
it's I'll ask you this too, coach. I know you can only offer a limited because you're busy on Saturdays and everything. Over under. Oh, I don't know how I want to put this. Okay, do you think the CAA can get 3 or more bids in the FCS playoffs?
I don't, because I feel like you're going to have more of the Elon, William, and Mary type things happen in the next couple of weeks, and I think it's going to be the top 2 and that third team just not getting in. Whether that's Delaware, William and Mary, Elon, UAlbany. I don't know if there's another dark horse that can make up enough ground in 5-6 games left. I don't know if there's another dark horse that can make up enough ground, but I don't think 3. I think it's got to be 2. And if we're playing spades, we're going to say 2 and a possible.
I like that. I think because you get the one automatic bid, whoever the champion is, which right now, based on the standings, because of Delaware's bye week, that would be Elon. I think you would get Delaware in right now. UAlbany would be somewhere probably on the bubble because I think not everyone's as high on them. I would say I would have went over. I think I'm at 3. I would have went over 3 if New Hampshire doesn't collapse down the stretch against Townsend like they did. That Townsend loss is going to kill them when it comes. Yeah, but I will say, and Timothy makes a good point. The Southland being arguably one of the worst conferences in the country right now might help the CAA get an extra one. But you're competing with the Big Sky's 5th best team. Like if it came down to like a Eastern Washington and a New Hampshire, like you're probably going to go with the Eastern Washington.
Just because of resume alone.
Yeah. I will say I'll have to put a little like star down here because I totally forgot to mention this guy in my quarterback rant. Max Brosmer too from New Hampshire is another guy who probably has an argument to be the best quarterback in that conference too. He's putting up ignorant stats. But coach, shifting over real quick to the Big Sky, man, a huge win for Idaho this weekend. I know me and you have been riding the bandwagon really hard for the Vandals. I will say though, the reason I wanted to address this game, Coach Visbrus missed a game for an injury that kind of wasn't, you know how it is in the FCS. Not everyone drops injury reports. So a backup quarterback for Eastern Washington, and they still competed really well with Idaho, 44-36. I want to ask you, when you look at this game, does the win carry as much weight for you for Idaho, given that they beat a team with a backup quarterback? Or do you think Eastern Washington is just better than a lot of people are giving them credit for?
I'm going to say 50-50. And I say 50-50 because Idaho's best player, the QB, you know how I feel about him, was, I don't want to say subpar, but he was good. He was manageable. Yeah. And they still went for almost 500 yards of offense. And, you know, you do that on the road, and then you give a team almost 3 football fields on the ground, and you're 100% on 4th downs, 7 yards of play. I think they weathered the storm on the road. It's tough to win, but it's even tougher to win on the road. And I think when you get there, and we're talking about kids, B, and you can tell me if you buy it or not, but I think there was a little bit of let off because that guy wasn't playing. Yeah. And I think, you know, the let off was like, okay, and then EY started to play, oh snap, we better turn it back on. This kid can actually do something. So I think there was a little bit of letdown, but, Idaho offensively found different ways, so to speak, to get it done. That's why I say, it's still 50-50, but I think EY showed folks that they can play as well. And some of their losses or as we talked last show, are good losses.
Yeah. I do. I kind of agree with this. Timothy, man, Timothy must be still in my show notes because, man, he's in the chat just beating me to the punch while you're talking. I feel like Eastern Washington played it smart because we know the type of quarterback Vispers is, more of a pocket guy, big arm, going to push down the field. When you look at Jared Taylor, straight dual threat guy.
Yeah,
going to do it all with his legs. And I really do think it kind of caught Idaho off guard. You game plan Vispers. We got to do this. We got to do that. They come out with Jared Taylor, and this is a guy that he rushed for 120 and 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
On Saturday. He was just balling out there. And so I think it caught Idaho off guard. Now, I will say the only thing that does concern me about this Idaho game is, listen, I know I've ranked them above Montana State, but because of resume right now, but if you're struggling with the quarterback run, when you go up against the Bobcats, there's going to be a lot of quarterback running, a lot of run. Like, you got to find a way to stop that, man. That's the only thing that draws concern, Coach. But I will say they're going to be more prepared for it against Montana State.
And that's what I was going to say. Nobody, the guys in the college shirts, when they're putting together a game plan, you know who's on the roster, but nobody comes and puts in a separate. You don't have time. So you're thinking all week that this kid is going to play and not realizing there's a night and day difference between the guy that's behind him. I'm sure it took them a little bit to make those adjustments. Every DC in the country has a defensive game plan for a dual threat guy. But those are things you've got to work during the week. You just can't go out there. It's like when you play option teams. You can't just jump out there and go play an option team and think that, your regular defense is going to work. No, you got to have a week of actually working that. And I think, like you said, once they get into the schedule and they know that guy's the guy that they're coming up that next week, I think they'll have a better plan early to keep them out of the tight situation they were in that, putting it lightly.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think the biggest thing for Idaho is that they showed me they can win games in multiple different ways. On the road, too. Listen, if you told me beforehand that Giovanni McCoy was going to give me 8 for 18 for 128 and a pick, I would have been nervous about my pick.
I would have called you everything but a good guy.
Yeah. I mean, that's not going to cut it. But I mean, listen, Anthony Woods, 211 and 5 touchdowns, averaged almost 10 yards per carry. I mean, that's disgusting. And then Nick Romano going for 129, 7 yards to carry. Give them props. Listen, they saw something on film because when you look at Eastern Washington, they gave up almost 200 yards to the Larison kid from UC Davis before he went out with injury. Idaho saw that film and said, listen, we're going to run it down their throats until they stop us. And at the end of the day, they weren't able to stop it. 363 and 5 touchdowns on the ground is going to get you beat at home, on the road, neutral site, anywhere.
Oh, ain't no doubt. When you give up 3 football fields of rushing, that's not helping yourself. And then it's also, as we said at the beginning of the show, it's also forcing you to be really good offensively because that clock is just moving.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. But Coach, man, shifting to the top 25. I mean, listen, we talked about all these upsets, everything like that. I want to ask you something from a coaching perspective, and also just how you feel about looking how you as a coach evaluates teams. How much stock do you put into common opponents? Now we know the transitive property doesn't work in college football, man. Week to week, anyone can get caught. But just when you're not just scouting a team week to week, what are the important things that people should be taking from common opponents when you're scouting a team?
Styles. I think styles really play a part in that because when you're talking about, and I don't even know why I always use this team as a analogy or whatever, but Nebraska of old, you play them, Bluebloods University plays them, totally different. So I think, styles come into play when you're saying common opponent because you may do something completely different than the other team. Now, you still go back and you go position and you try to break down, as best you can position-wise. what kind of player this guy is, what kind of player this guy is. But styles, team styles, I think is where that kind of gets a little hairy. If it's two of the same teams, same styles, I think it has a lot of weight. If it's drastic, I think you just kind of at that point you go player wise and try to put it all together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm with you because like there's been a big debate this week, Coach. I mean, listen, we've talked about this about slot voting, about people not watching the games. I mean, listen, there's a whole lot of criticisms that we've talked about with the top 25, but in a week like this, I feel like it really tested voters and kind of their approach to their ballots because you got 8 ranked teams suffering losses, 6 to unranked opponents, and I will say this: I think the resumes start getting so deep that head to head matters. I think head to head matters way less in week 9 than it does in like the first few weeks of the season because at the end of the day, the resume was there at week 9. And if a team has 4 top 25 wins and gets upset, like in that other team, that was the only upset win, like should it really be ranked above that team? I think you can make that argument. But in week 5, I just feel like there's too many people, Coach, sticking to that preseason ballot. I mean, Samford is still getting top 25 votes, Coach.
That's gone. And me and you talked about it. To me, nothing against them, but when they took that Dub C loss, to me, that puts you, and then they take another one after that. To me, you're gone at that point, just because of the manner in which you lost. We're not talking overtime. We're not talking, talking triple overtime or anything like that. I think when you get manhandled, those situations should play into the fact that, you're moving. Now, if North Dakota State had got manhandled and you say you left them in the top 10, me and you would have to have a discussion if that was a handle type game, 35-14 type thing. Why are they still there? But, of course, nobody's going to break that down, but I think it kind of goes back to what you said. I started them here, so when they do slip, it's only a small slide where, as like you said, when you get deeper in there, okay, those slides, those losses should be coming at a steeper penalty in my eyes.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the both polls up here. So, Coach, coaches poll. Let's see. North Dakota State is 8th in the coaches poll. William and Mary is 9th in the coaches poll. Holy Cross falls to 12. Montana sitting at 13 in the coaches poll right now. Let's see. Western Carolina only at 17. Harvard at 19. UC Davis is still sitting at 18. Eastern Washington is not even ranked right now, by the way, who beat UC Davis a week ago. South Dakota's 21. Illinois State out of nowhere at 22. New Hampshire still ranked, Coach, 2 and 3 after a loss to Townsend, ranked 24th. And Rhode Island tied for 25th. And that is after Albany. Let's see. Albany only received 10 votes, Coach. So Albany just beat Villanova 31-10. Villanova is still in the top 20. Albany only gets 10 votes. Fordham, who UAlbany beat at week 0, is still getting 26 more votes than UAlbany.
Make that make sense. And then the part I was going to ask you when you were rolling through the names early, what's the, in your opinion, and I know we get off track a lot, and I'm sorry, but I got to know, what's your opinion as to the lack of respect for Western Carolina? I don't get it because offensively, you want to go look at stats, they have that.
Yeah.
They have a quality win of a top 10 team, and it wasn't close.
I mean, they have looked so impressive in all, like, yes, maybe they, I want to say their schedule. Hang on, let me try to pull up the spreadsheet. I think they've played a top 50 strength of schedule. They have a top 10, top 25 win. They're undefeated against FCS competition. And Coach, even the I guess quote unquote bad teams they've played, they've demolished them. Like they put up 77.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Against the team that William and Mary put up 15 against and beat them 15-7. They beat them like 77-20. Yeah, way below William and Mary. William and Mary's still in the top 10. I mean, I don't know what else they have to do. Now, I will say, let's see, there's 17 in this poll, and in the media poll, they are 11, which is a little bit more respectable, but still behind William and Mary at 10. North Dakota State falls to 7 in that poll. And hang on, let's see. Where did Holy Cross fall to? Did I lose Holy Cross? Did they not rank? Holy Cross is 12, so they're above Holy Cross at least. It's just, I'll be honest with you, Coach. I've said this, listen, because I talked to me and KJ Black had a conversation about this, about how the coaches poll, there's coaches voting that can't name every FCS conference. I mean, you got to at least know the basics. And then plus your box score watching, you probably don't like, is anyone actually paying attention to how impressive Western Carolina has been? I don't know. I mean, Coach, I don't know who's all voting in the coaches poll because it's anonymous each year. I really want to know, outside of SoCon coaches who are on the voting committee, how much film has people watched on Western Carolina? None.
I would agree. Less than 1%. Less than 1%. Because I ask you this, and then we can get back to the script. But does Holy Cross resume, does that keep them where they are? Should it have dropped them? Or, with their resume, is that why they just take a small slide?
Okay, so comparing resumes, just like because we're on the Western Carolina conversation. So Western Carolina right now is 4-1, 4-0 against FCS competition, has a top 10, top 25 win, has played the 45th strength of schedule, and is ranked 24th by the Massey or BCS FCS polls. When you compare that to North Dakota State, who's played the 41st strength of schedule, so no real difference there, 0 top 25 wins, and is 3-1 against FCS competition, including a home loss.
So now we're going off name, basically.
Yeah, that's off a name, and then it gets even worse, Coach. And then you go to Holy Cross, that's 3-2, 3-1 in FCS competition, has played a weaker schedule, number 47 in the country, 0 FBS wins, 0 top 25 wins. Apparently they got a better resume. And then you go to William and Mary, who's played the 80th ranked strength of schedule this year, Coach, is 4-1 against FCS competition. And in the common opponent game, struggled with Charleston Southern, and Western Carolina put up 77.
That alone. I mean, now you're going off name and tradition, I think, is what we're doing now when we look at that ballot. If we hadn't personally seen Bluebloods University play, we just know that they have a track record for being a really good program.
I think people are getting confused. Fans, media, voters, they get confused between a power ranking and what this should more be, where I think they're projecting more. Where you're looking at North Dakota State and you're like, man, I bet you they're going to probably reel off 3 straight wins here. So let me just not drop them so I don't have to do the work later. I don't want to look crazy. To me, and this is what I put in the article I released today about my top 25. I said, in my opinion, each week, each ballot should reflect the best teams in the country if the season ended today, strictly based on what happened on the field. It shouldn't be historical brand recognition, preseason expectations, projections into the future that haven't happened yet. There's no hypothetical matchups to be used. We talked about that confirmation bias last week, where it's like, well, if this team and this team played, 7 weeks from now, who would you pick? You don't know either. We saw no one was picking Harvard to beat Holy Cross, so let's not use that. Teams should only be judged based on the resume through the first 5 weeks of the season. And that's how the rankings should work. It shouldn't be based off of anything else in that.
I'm with you. That case in point alone,
I think that ends the debate completely on that. That's how you should be ranked. And I think until about week 7 or 8, you should be able to really fluctuate your ratings. Now, by week 7 or 8, if your rankings are so off that you have no idea what you're doing, then yeah, maybe start fresh. But if you're really watching football, I'm confident that by week 7, I should have probably the top 25 to 35 teams somewhere in my top, around there. There might be a few changes based on upsets, things like that, but we should know who the best teams in the country are, barring injury or anything crazy happening. But right now, man, it's still week 5. There's still teams that have only played 2 or 3 FCS teams. We don't know anything about those teams.
Right. And we're still voting them in the top 10, top 15, top 20, stuff like that. Shout out to HBCUs that are still in the top 25.
Hey, Grambling is really moving. I know you don't want to hear that. You can cup your ears, but Grambling's really moving up for me, man. That team has been balling out. I mean, they looked impressive against PV this weekend. I got FAMU in my top 25. Listen, I have Central. Where did I have Central? I want to say like 12.
Did I
I
win
moved,
that?
huh?
Did I cover?
No, you picked Campbell.
No, FAMU. The points.
Oh no, you did not cover.
I didn't cover.
No, they ended up pulling away at the end. It was like 31-7. No, what was it? Someone in the chat put that you owed me the food or something. Hang on. Let me see if I can find the comment. Oh yeah. He said, Coach, you owe Blue, #FAMU. It was close there for a while, but listen, Valley gave up, I want to say like 3 fourth quarter touchdowns or something crazy like that. That grass only played 3 quarters, Coach. You got to get on to it and say you got to play a full game. But I had Central 12, Coach, because I get it. I'm sure. Did you see the social media chaos after that Gamble NCCU game?
Yeah, man.
Ooh, Coach Oliver and those guys were not playing around. They were bringing out all the receipts.
I love it. I love it. I don't know if it's him or if he's got somebody working it for him, but I absolutely freaking love it. Keep it coming, Coach. Let them know you there, baby.
Listen, coming off an injury, Davius Richard answered all the questions for me. What he had a passing touchdown, almost 300 through the air, had 86 on the ground and 4 rushing touchdowns, Coach. And then Mookie Collier on that game-winning touchdown, that's a grown man run.
Ain't no doubt.
He said, "Get off me, do not touch me." I'm getting to the end zone, and there is nothing. Like, they were going to have to hit him with a truck for him not to hit the end zone.
Ain't no doubt. And just the way they roared back, man, hats off to them. You know, they fought. They could have easily folded it and chalked it up to what happened a year ago or whatever. You know, hats off to them. Hats off to that program. Hats off to Coach Oliver.
I want to ask you this real quick before we move on from this game, because I'm trying to pull it up here. Coach Campbell got dominated in time of possession, but I don't know how to explain this. Are they too explosive on offense? And the way I'm asking that is, they always start fast in all these games this year. They're putting up crazy touchdowns, but they get dominated in time of possession because all their scoring drives are 1, 2, 3 play drives, and the defense never rests, and then they always collapse in the second half. I mean, if you're the OC, you got to be frustrated because it's like we're playing amazing football early, but we're almost hurting ourselves in the second half because our defense never gets a rest.
I think, and just kind of skimming through this game, the first half, and we become, I don't want to say, how do I say it? I felt like they kind of took their foot off the gas. Rather that was, you know, hey, we don't want to end up in the, not that they were going to score 77, but hey, we just going to play it safe. We got enough to win, not realizing there's still a lot of time left in the game. I think that's what happened to them, and I'll be curious to go back and look, but I think once you get a big lead as a play caller, you tend to kind of back off because you don't want to make the big mistake. And what got you the lead was throwing the ball and, you know, the explosive plays. And now that you've got the lead, you're content. You become content with the 3 and out. We didn't throw it. We didn't throw an interception. We didn't fumble it. Best thing is to kick it. But all the while, you know, they're scoring, and it's tough to turn it back on. So I just think it's a fine line in that, man. But you can't take your foot off the gas. You got to go.
Yeah, I think that's what happened with them is like they got too conservative with the play calling at times. But it's like, listen, if I don't care if I'm scoring at will. Like, bro, I'm racking it up. I don't care. And I will say I agree in my guy Rob in the chat. NCCU, I don't, because I actually said that this one of the games I got to watch on Saturday. I didn't have to go back and look at the film. They made some crazy defensive adjustments too. you could tell there were some new guys in different play. Like the whole defensive scheme almost shifted after halftime. So you got to give NCCU props. And then listen, when you got that guy at quarterback, and coach, you know what I'm talking about. When you know you have
Always,
that guy, you
you're
never
always,
panic.
yeah, you're always in it. You're always in it. And all you need from your defense is a little bit of help. A stop here, stop there, a shank punt here, a shank punt there. Bam, you're right back in the game, which is why you can't take your foot off midway through the fourth. Okay, now we can turn around and just hand it off and punt the ball because it's going to, the clock's going to roll. But you can't turn it off midway third quarter. Too much time.
No, and shout out to Trey Oliver and those guys when that was.
Oh, no doubt.
Listen, I get it. Some people aren't really like football savvy, and they're like, "Oh, it's a struggle win. It's this and that." That's the type of comeback win that sparks special things. And if
Program.
if they go on to win the MEAC, go on to win the Celebration Bowl,
Eh.
I know what you're saying, Abe. Let's just say win the MEAC. I know why you're saying, if they go on to win it, coach, win the conference, this is a game that I think I can point back to and say, like, that was a season defining win because if you lose that game, it changes the trajectory of the season, the feel of the season, because you might win it again, like they did last year, but you still look back and it's like, man, what's like, why couldn't we get over that one hump?
Oh, no doubt. Especially the way that they had just came off of that loss previous to this game. It's definitely one that I think they will point back to at the end of the year and be like, okay, this was the defining moment. This was the turning point in the season where the guys got it, they brought all in, and we just took off and ran with it. Most definitely think that's that type of game. Definitely.
So, Coach, man, the last two segments quickly. Walter Payton, Buck Buchanan watch list. This is really for me. I'll get your thoughts on it, unless you got some guys you want to throw out there. But it's tough because it's still early, and let's be honest, one's a quarterback award and one's an edge rusher award at the end of the day. So it's definitely going to be interesting. But Coach, I got to say, I think when I look at quarterbacks, there's I think four that kind of stick out to me right now. I think you got Max Brosmer from New Hampshire, Cole Gonzalez, Western Carolina. I'm still going to be pushing the bandwagon. CJ Montes from Fordham. Never thought I'd be saying it after week one, but that kid's been putting on a show for Fordham. And then I'm going to have to throw my guy Matthew Sluka in, who's probably one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the game right now. And when you look at all these guys, I really am kind of surprised about CJ Montes, coach. 16 passing touchdowns, 0 picks, and is thrown for over 1,200 yards. I mean, and they got a new OC at Fordham.
Balling out of control.
You got to give him his props. I would lean Sluka right now, even after that performance against Harvard, just because it's a full resume thing. And coach, when you look at Sluka right now, 1,000 passing yards, 14 passing touchdowns, over 500 rushing yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns. The kid does it in so many different ways. And if he can bounce back and lead them to another Patriot League title, I think I'm going to give him the slight edge. But listen, Cole Gonzalez is coming, coach. The more film I watch on that kid, the more I like him. So I want to throw him in there for quarterbacks. And I got some running backs I want to throw in there, but I'm going to let you take over.
I'm just disappointed, man. And I was going to go to McDonald's for this segment and ran out of time. And I was going to show my support for who I thought was in the top 3. And you don't even have him in your top 4. My guy out there in Idaho, man, he's doing it in a different way. I think they are coming. Again, I think they are going to be right there at the end. And I think if he gets them over the top, I think he becomes a legitimate finalist for this award, just because of the two seasons that he's put together last year and this year. If he gets them over the hump, I think he should definitely be on the Bluebloods candidate list. But Mr. Western Carolina is throwing that thing. He's balling out of control. He's definitely balling out of control.
Yeah, and I want to say, because I see some people kind of upset that certain players aren't in there. This is just like a preliminary thing. Like, I just threw some names together.
Real early.
Yeah, it's just still super early. These are just some like I've still not even done with my full. I haven't even gotten to wide receivers yet. I didn't even include them because they never get any love anyway in this award. And I don't think there's any wide receiver that's had like a game changing year yet. It's tough as a wide receiver because if a wide receiver's putting up 5 touchdowns, that means the quarterback's probably throwing 5 or 6.
And that's just how it works for us. You know, at the end of the day, we understand that on the outside, and he understands that being the trigger guy that one don't work without the other. One is the golden boy position, and the other one is just the extension of the golden boy position. But I think what I'm gonna do, man, I'm gonna get with the producers of the Bluebloods show, and we're going to put together a I don't know who we call it, Randy Moss Award or something, and we're going to come up with an award for the best receiver at this level at the end of the year. I don't know what I'm going to do, but anybody got any ideas, any sponsors want to come through for that? We're going to create a trophy and everything.
Hey, I know my guys over at Walk On Apparel might be interested, so shout out to them if they're in the chat. I know they watched the show, or anyone else that might want to sponsor that. We'll have to get that one together. We'll have to get some wide receivers some love. I will say the running back class, I get it's a quarterback award, and there's some honorable mentions at quarterback. Listen, Gronowski has a chance. Giovanni McCoy has a chance. I think Sean Chambers, I saw him in the chat from Montana State. If he's the full-time starter, he has a chance. The problem is him and Malott switch so much that it's kind of hard for him to be the guy. And Coach, I'll just cup your ears again real quick because I know you don't want to hear this. Miles Crawley is putting together a damn good resume for this. He's out there balling. So I know you don't want to hear that, and hopefully that ends this weekend for my guy Crawley against Coach over here. That's a big game. But listen, I was kind of putting the quarterback stats together, and it was like Crawley ranks pretty high in this, and he ranks pretty high in this. I was like, oh.
He's being really efficient. He really is. He's being really efficient with the ball. That move for him has done wonders for him. Ooh. This is when the transfer portal works at its best. And hats off to that kid for having the year that he's having up to this point, and hopefully we can slow it down on Saturday.
Exactly.
Really being really efficient with the ball. He really is.
Oh, yeah. And then running back class real quick, Coach, before we switch over to the Buck Buchanan. Listen, there's 3 guys and a 4th guy as an honorable mention for me. Sam Franklin for UT Martin, Shunderick Powell for Central Arkansas, and Desmond Reed for Western Carolina. I know that's 2 Western Carolina guys. I know people are going to be throwing up at this episode, but listen, Sam Franklin, Coach, is averaging 157 yards per game right now with 6 rushing touchdowns. You go down to Shunderick Powell, Coach, only 74 carries this year, but is averaging 10 yards per carry for almost 150 yards per game. Give that man the ball.
Hey, as those kids say, man, when he gets the ball, he's sliding, man. He is, and what per carry is ridiculous.
Yeah, 10 yards per carry. And Coach, they've played Oklahoma State, North Dakota State. I mean, they're playing like really good teams.
Yeah, they're not playing cupcakes.
No.
He's having a day every time he steps out there. But that per carry, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
And then you got Desmond Reed over 600 yards, averaging almost 7 yards per carry, 10 rushing touchdowns right now, Coach. Through the first few games. I mean, he's on track right now to possibly have a 20-plus touchdown year.
And you put that into perspective, man, that is bananas. Hitting the pay dirt 20 times. And he's not the fullback that waits on you to get it down there to the 3-yard line and he just punches it in. I mean, he's doing a lot of the work on his own as well.
Yeah, and then Dylan Lobby and Dan already beat me to it. Anthony Woods for Idaho, too. Both of those guys are having phenomenal years. I mean, 5 touchdowns this weekend for Anthony Woods. But, I mean, Dylan Lobby, the reason that I think I give him the first honorable mention is because he's also the leading receiver for New Hampshire. So it's like he does it in so many ways. Plus, he's an All-American kick returner. It's like
I think we talked about
if you're looking for like a guy who can do everything, Dylan Lobby is your guy.
Plug and play. Plug and play.
And quickly, man, so we don't go too far over here, man. The Buck Buchanan is still really up for grabs, especially because, you know, it's still early, super early in the season, man. But Coach, I just want to read you the stat line. I'm not even going to say who it is. In 5 games, this kid has put up 75 total tackles, 7 for loss, 3.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 9 quarterback hurries.
His SID is really, really good.
God,
I'm just
man.
saying, but that's bananas, man.
I mean, what do we do? And that's Jacob Dobbs from Holy Cross, who's coming off of a season-ending injury last year.
And he did a lot of work versus BC. I mean, he wasn't just out there; he was wreaking havoc. I mean, and freaking, up at Boston College that game. And I just right now, I'm like you. He's got to be the front runner, unless the other kid gets to 13, 14 sacks, and then after that, it's just, I mean.
Well, there's a few guys. Listen, Anton Junkai, we mentioned him, or
Yeah.
Anton Junk. I want to say it's Junkai. Listen, if he hears the show, please tell me how to pronounce your last name, because I know I'm butchering it, and I know Coach is going to butcher it as well. We're just going to call him Anton right now. Coach, 10.5 tackles for loss, 9 sacks already this year.
If he gets that, and it's realistic for him to get a half or at least one every game, if he gets in the 15 range, I think you've got to consider him as well.
Yeah, and then Nate Lynn is probably my number 3. Coach, 9 tackles for loss, 7 sacks already, 2 forced fumbles, including a big one this weekend to set William & Mary up where they weren't able to convert. That's another conversation. But just some honorable mentions: John Pius from William & Mary 2, Stephen Parker from Incarnate Word, Elijah Williams, Morgan State, Trevin Gradney from Montana at defensive back, Cole Wisniewski from North Dakota State as a defensive back. All those guys. But Coach, Trevin has 4 picks already this year.
Stay away from him.
I mean, at some point you just got to stop throwing it at him. It's like 4 picks already.
Just stay away from him.
I want to say the league leader last year, Coach, finished with 7, and he's got 4 through 5 games.
With a lot more to play.
Yeah, and Bubba is putting up some good stats as well at over at Alabama State. Want to throw him in. The Devontae Davis too at defensive tackle for Jackson. I want to say still leading the conference in sacks right now, which is stupid from a defensive tackle. But I think Jacob Dobbs right now, Coach, when you're averaging almost 20 tackles per game, and it's not just normal tackles, it's solo tackles and tackles for loss. Man, it's hard to not pick that kid.
Yeah, you got to account for him on the offensive side in the game plan. But when you're putting up those numbers, like you said, it's and we're not talking about chase down tackles. We're talking about at the line, behind the line. That's impressive. That's impressive.
Coach, man, to wrap us up here, I know we're just a little bit over an hour, man. Biggest winners and losers from week 5.
Man, biggest loser. I think NDSU. You can't do that at home for obvious reasons. And then to keep it in my conference, I think PV for obvious reasons as well. That's my big losers. Biggest winners, Hampton, Graham, and us. Idaho for showing they're for real on the freaking road, finding a different way to do it. Those are my biggest winners.
I love the Hampton throw out. A huge win over Richmond this weekend. Man, shout out to Hampton out here. Coach, they're one of the only undefeated teams in the CAA in conference right now. So we didn't even mention them earlier. Hampton, they might get rolling here. I'm interested to see how they compete. I will say for losers, I'm gonna throw it up to Holy Cross number 1, Coach. Just for this, I don't think their loss was the worst. I just think because of the conference they play in, that loss hurts them the most moving forward. Now you're questioning whether they get a seed in the playoffs, and if you don't get a seed in the playoffs, you're on the road very early, and that's not going to bode well for them. They needed to probably win out in FCS games. I think if they can pick up a Power 5 win, I want to say we're not Power 5, a Group of 5 winning against Army later, that might be able to save them. But that loss really hurts Holy Cross and just a perception because they don't play one of the tougher conferences, tougher schedules. I think North Dakota State, man, a home loss to South Dakota really calls into question because you still got South Dakota State, which that might be 2 losses. Northern Iowa is always a sneaky. They always play up to their competition, so we'll see kind of what that game turns into. There's some interesting games on that schedule that I don't think are going to be guaranteed wins based on the way they played this weekend. And again, William & Mary's offense, Jesus, man, we got to do something with that. That's just unacceptable, even without Yoder at running back. I think for my HBCU loser, I gotta. Oh, this is tough. I'm gonna go Norfolk.
Ah,
You finally got all that momentum going, and you choke it up against North Carolina A&T.
yeah, they
That's a
killed.
tough one. That's a
Yeah,
tough loss right there. And I mean it because they're kind of on a losing streak, if I'm not mistaken, against A&T. And it was like if you were ever gonna get them, this was kind of the year to get them. And they collapsed it. So, and I think for winners, it's obvious, man. Listen, South Dakota, huge winner this weekend. I agree with you. I got Grambling as a big winner. I got North Carolina Central as a big winner. I think Grambling, when you look at how big that win was, I mean, listen, PV had that streak. I mean, the eviction notices and the
yeah,
whole nine, and Bubba McDowell before the game was like, man, we're gonna go with it, talking this little trash. And they went out there and made a statement. And I think they came in with so much doubt. Coach Hugh Jackson, everyone wondering if he was going to make it past this year, if he could ever get a quarterback and this and that. They've answered all the bells, and the defense played really well, which is something that has not happened the first few weeks of the season. So that was kind of promising. And then I think beyond that, I'm gonna go UAlbany because everyone's been sleeping on them a little bit, and they finally got that first ranked win. Kind of getting, they might not be as high as me, but they're on the radar now. And if they can string together some CAA wins, they're going to be sitting really pretty moving forward. But man, Coach, this weekend, I mean, listen, I'm sure the reservation right now is already buzzing, even on Monday with the game this weekend. Alcorn State hosts Grambling State this weekend in a huge SWAC West matchup. Coach, man, campus a little bit different this week, isn't it?
It's already starting, man. Coming back through the union, through the green. Kids are out. They got something going on. We had that talk with the kids. This week is not for you. Saturday after the game is for you. So yeah, huge. Not just because of who we're playing, but just because it's the next game. It's the next game up on the schedule. Very big, and there's a few things that are at stake. So looking forward to it, man. Getting excited, ready to get back out there in the morning, get to work on it, putting together a game plan, and throw it out there and see what happens, bro.
Man, I forgot it was homecoming. At first, I was like, what's he talking about? The week's not for you. I was like, damn, it is homecoming week, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, oh yeah. Listen, y'all better get to the reservation right after this show, or y'all are gonna be stuck on the stretch until after the game. Good luck, because listen, I've been there. I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning last year to get that Jackson game. Oh, that was terrible, Coach. I was sitting there falling asleep on the stretch.
Hey, so before we close it out, you're a Mobile guy. You're close to it. I'll put you on the spot with some of your folks. I think we've done this before, but when you're out and about at tailgates, do you ever run up on fish and spaghetti?
Not to, I mean, fish, yes. I don't think I've ever been in a tailgate that cooks spaghetti.
Okay. Okay.
The common ones, okay. So, let's see. I'm trying to remember because, I forgot what Mr. Kincaid cooked. Well, hell, he had like breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, post game. I mean, they probably had everything, but it's like most tailgate. Listen, I will say some of the best seafood I've had was at the Southern tailgate I went to.
Okay.
Down in Baton Rouge. But listen, that's Louisiana. We know what it is, and like even in Mobile, like it's a lot of seafood. It's a lot of ribs, and there's some fish. Like I know it's big in some places, but yeah, spaghetti I can't get. Where did you find? Who cooks spaghetti at the tailgate?
It shows up, man. But
In Lorman?
I'm against spaghetti and fish on the same plate on a Tuesday night, let alone at a tailgate. I just
That
don't.
that just seems like a counterintuitive tailgate food. Like I've never heard of anyone making spaghetti for a tailgate.
I've seen a guy make ice cream out of the tailgate.
Like make it or like just bring
Like
it.
ice cream. Yeah.
I feel like yeah, okay. Let me say this. I don't know how to make ice cream homemade, so I might be ignorant about it. That seems like it'd be way too complex of a process to be making at a tailgate.
I think you mix it all in. You got your generator, and I think it just kind of does it itself. But for me, when he did that and he offered it, I'm just like, ice cream. You know what you know what's in my cup? That's not good. That don't mix with ice cream. That kind of thing.
No, especially if it's like chocolate ice cream because it leaves that taste like man, that's
Oh, ice cream.
yeah, also true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know about that spaghetti and ice cream. Listen, we got to. I must be going to the wrong tailgates. I've never seen it, or the tailgates I've been to. That was not the area that I was going to in terms of getting food. Like, you got to keep it to the basics, man. Ribs, hot dogs, hamburgers, catfish, stuff like that. Like spaghetti, man. Like I feel like I got to sit down and like tuck a napkin in my shirt and like make sure I don't get it on myself. This is too much.
Like I said, I'm gonna get spaghetti on the same plate as fish, and it could be a Tuesday night, let alone at a tailgate. But that's a whole nother argument.
Oh yeah. Especially in Lorman, Mississippi, if you're doing that in like the first week of the season, is way too hot to be eating spaghetti outside.
So you're a seasonal spaghetti guy?
I'm just talking about like spaghetti's a filling food. I can't be out. It can't be 107 degrees, and I got to go sit out in the heat, and I just ate spaghetti, and now you got like the meat sweats and all that. Like this is no chance.
So you're not going to what's my Italian restaurant? You're not going to Olive Garden before November, then?
I'm not saying November. I'm just saying if I got something to do outside and it's hot, no shit. That's all I'm saying. Listen, shout out to my guy, the Rattler did. How do you like? No work is getting done after eating like a whole plate of spaghetti. Coach, you're gonna catch me in the press box sleeping until about the third quarter after eating a whole plate of spaghetti. No chance. It's too filling. You got to have quick, easy, like food, especially if you're out there enjoying it. Like you said, you got your cup with you. And like you can't be eating spaghetti. Like that's a bad combination. Spaghetti, alcohol potentially, and heat. Oh man, that sounds like the worst combination of all time.
So when you go to the Dakotas, I know there's chili. Do you not partake in the chili?
See, I'm not a big chili. I'm not like a chili person.
Okay.
So I wouldn't eat chili regardless. But I probably won't. Even if I did, I probably wouldn't eat. I don't know about that. Listen, Dan said got a carb load for the big day. I'm with you. I don't know. Yeah, so we'll see. Spaghetti though, I don't know. I'm not putting that on my tailgate menu. But hey, listen, there's a lot of people who tailgate way more than me. So shout out to them if they're out there cooking that spaghetti and homemade ice cream. That's going above and beyond. That should be on College game day. If it ever comes to Lorman, whoever's out there making homemade ice cream, that's the person they should feature.
Oh, ain't no doubt. I mean, he did that. Like freaking did that. That way. Like first of all, why? Second of all, like how do you do it? Like okay. Oh, do what you do.
Oh man, well, hey, we listen. You guys get it all here, man. Football analysis, tailgate connoisseurs. I mean, no, that's ridiculous. Someone in the chat said chili and cinnamon rolls in the cold weather.
Oh no, we ain't doing that one.
No. Listen. No, I'm going the other route. Spaghetti and anything other than cinnamon rolls. No chance I'm eating those things back to back.
No, I'd have to go home. Day over. I had to go home, man. No.
Oh my god, man, y'all are crazy. Oh man, that was a good way to end the show, man. That was a good laugh, man. My chest hurts. He says cinnamon rolls with your spaghetti. Nah, there's no way. Oh god. Oh man, I don't even know if I can eat dinner now for the next hour thinking about that. Dan, you're killing me with that.
I don't know how that's gonna go with the red cup.
Oh man, listen, I'm sorry guys, man. We spent 13 minutes on madness, but listen, man, you guys hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe and tune in Thursday afternoon, 4:30 p.m. Central Time. YouTube, you catch the replay of this on YouTube and all podcast streaming platforms. You follow me and my guy Coach Fred on social media. Handles are there. Handles for the Bluebloods are on the side as well. Guys, October 11th, FCS Football Central launches on Sports Illustrated Fan Nation, man. So make sure to prepare for that. We're definitely already getting things rolling on that one. I've already kind of seen the preliminary design and kind of ideas that we're rolling forward. Can't wait for that. You can catch me, my guy Coach Fred, my guy Timothy contributed on the site when that launches, along with some other people I'm trying to get involved. But guys, up until Thursday, man, for me, my guy Coach Fred, we are out for right now.